Let's get straight into it with Charles Leclerc. Took the lead on lap 12. Pretty straightforward two-stop race, would you say?
Yeah, but I mean, yes, it looked simple, didn't it? But I wouldn't say it was that simple. I mean, the Ferrari looked really good, and when he was catching Verstappen, he looked like he was closing quite easily, and then he was able to get past him. But he still had to overtake him three times, and Max Verstappen's probably the hardest driver on the whole grid to overtake. And I must say, Leclerc is showing, he's just showing that wonderful skill, And I love to see him battle with Verstappen. We saw it in Saudi Arabia, and we saw it again here in Austria, because especially that first move into turn three, down the inside of Verstappen, that took full commitment, and he could have easily snatched the front brake and got it completely wrong, but he didn't. So a very tidy drive from Leclerc, and he really needed one, huh? He's been on a long run of not winning, so perfect for him.
Yeah, not only not winning, he hasn't won, as we said at the top of the show, since the Australian Grand Prix back in early April, but he hasn't had a top three finish in any of the last 5 races, despite qualifying inside the top 3, 4 out of those 5 times. So tell me, Alex, as a Grand Prix driver, when it's, as you said, he's overtaken for the lead 3 times, it's lap 61, and he suddenly feels his throttle pedal isn't returning properly. How exactly would he be feeling at that point?
Oh, he'd be going, no, 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 no. I mean, gosh, you just think everything's going against you at that point. And sometimes in sports, not just Formula One, you get these roles where it's really hard to break out of it. And you do need a bit of, well, it's not really lucky to have this throttle issue, but it could have been worse. It could have meant he didn't retire. So he needed a bit of luck to make sure it wasn't quite bad enough to stop him from finishing the race and getting his win.
And when that was happening, what were you thinking to yourself, as I was? How do you drive when the throttle isn't coming back fully? Are you scooping it with your foot? There's not a lot of room in the foot box anyway. I mean, it's not designed for people to do ballet dancing, is it?
Well, I mean, Leclerc would have felt that straight away. With the old cables we back in the day when we used to drive, you can kind of tap the throttle a little bit, and that might loosen it up. But Leclerc would have felt that straight away, that something was up. And I think as a driver, he'd have been extremely analytical about it. He'd have been like, okay, is it the same every time? If it's the same every time, I can maybe prepare for it and I can drive it. But if it's not the same every time, is it getting worse? Because if it's getting worse, then it becomes a safety issue. Because what if it stays flat chat, 100% throttle when I hit the brakes? I'm in for a big, big accident. And as a driver, you have to think these split-second decisions, because if you think it's going to go at 100% and get worse, then that's your life on the line. The Red Bull Ring has got a lot of runoff area, but you're in for a very, very big accident. But you'll be analysing this, going, no, and I'm sure Leclerc was like, no, I think it's been consistently the 30% extra throttle. I'll find a way to drive around it. I'd brake a little bit earlier and manage it. And for him, I'm sure, like most drivers, the most important thing was finishing and getting the win.